Big Tech follows the White House. Your news update in Temu and Shein in court on this edition of Arbitrage News Weekend, starting right now. Hello and welcome to Arbitrage News Weekend for July 22nd, 2023. I'm Joshua Stark. Amazon, Google, Meta, Microsoft, and other companies that are leading the development of artificial intelligence technology have agreed to meet a set of AI safeguards brokered by President Joe Biden's administration. The White House said Friday that it has secured voluntary commitments from 7 U.S. companies meant to ensure their AI products are safe before they release them. Some of the commitments call for third-party oversight of the workings of commercial AI systems, though they don't detail who will audit the technology or hold the companies accountable. A surge of commercial investment in generative AI tools that can write convincingly human-like text and churn out new images and other media has brought public fascination as well as concern about their ability to trick people and spread disinformation, as well as other dangers. Elon Musk's big bet that Tesla price cuts could boost sales and profits amid increasing competition and poor economic sentiment appears to be yielding mixed results. Sales jumped and the company beat analyst expectations for net income in the April to June quarter, although the company's profit margins declined. Tesla shares followed suit in after-hours trading. The Austin, Texas maker of electric vehicles, solar panels, and batteries reported net income of $2.7 billion in the quarter, a 20% increase from a year ago. Earnings per share also rose 20% to 78 cents when measured via generally accepted accounting principles. Total revenue rose 47% to $24.93 billion. Tony Bennett, the eminent and timeless stylist whose devotion to classic American songs and knack for creating new standards such as I Left My Heart in San Francisco, graced a decades-long career that brought him admirers from Frank Sinatra to Lady Gaga, died Friday. He was 96, just 2 weeks short of his 97th birthday. His publicist confirmed his death, saying he died in his hometown of New York. There was no specific cause, but Bennett had been diagnosed with Alzheimer's disease in 2016. The last of the great saloon singers of the mid-20th century, Bennett often said his lifelong ambition was to create a hit catalog rather than hit records. He released more than 70 albums, bringing him 19 competitive Grammys, all but 2 after he reached his 60s, and enjoyed deep and lasting affection from fans and fellow artists. When Alicia Griggs steps outside of her suburban Fort Lauderdale home, Florida's latest invasive species comes a-hopping down the street, lionhead rabbits. The bunnies, which sport an impressive flowing mane around their heads, want the food Griggs carries, but she also represents their best chance of survival and moving where this domesticated breed belongs, inside homes, away from cars, cats, hawks, Florida heat, and possibly government-hired exterminators. Griggs is spearheading efforts to raise the $20,000 to $40,000 it would cost for a rescue group to capture, neuter, vaccinate, shelter, and then give away the estimated 60 to 100 lionheads now populating the area.
I'm Smokey Bear, and I made an assistant to help you prevent wildfires.
Dude, I've got this. I've been camping since I was 5 years old.
But I am a camping influencer.
You know what? I'll bet you $5. Assistant Smokey, what is the best way to put out a campfire?
To put out a campfire, drown with water, stir, drown again. Then make sure the fire is out cold by feeling with the back of your hand.
Wait, really?
I'll take the $5.
Learn more at SmokeyBear.com.
Brought to you by the U.S. Forest Service, your state forester, and the Ad Council.
This week's Arbitrage blog includes Is Replanting Really Effective? Nobody Loves Bob, and Temu and Shein in court. All this and more in this week's Arbitrage blog, available now at arbitragetrade.com. Now let's go to the president and CEO of Arbitrage, Mr. Royce Wells, for more. Royce, we can both agree that that there's been some impact on land as far as as far as humans are concerned, we've had impact on the Earth, right?
Yeah. Well, 9 million billion of us. Why not?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's said that as a species, we've modified at least 70% of the Earth's land surface.
Yeah, what about the plants underneath the ocean?
That's a good point. I mean, land surface, meaning land.
But isn't 75% of the world is water?
Yeah, but land surface. Let's focus.
Okay.
The 30% that is land. That's what we're talking about. We've modified 70% of that.
Sure. Okay.
So the thing is that we've modified it, and we've attempted to try to mitigate some of that with replanting of trees and things like that. But there is some evidence that replanting not necessarily doing as much as it could be.
What are you using it to measure?
Well, the impact of the land as far as vegetation is able to survive.
So we're not measuring the amount of oxygen that's not being released from the plants.
That would probably be a good indicator.
I think so.
The argument here is
it's carbon footprint, right?
Yeah. The argument here is that as we have logged and we have cut down trees and things like that, we've also affected some of the auxiliary vegetation and the animals and that sort of thing, and it takes some time to get that back, that ecosystem.
Yeah, but International Paper has done some efforts.
Yeah. International Paper. I know that KTG USA, which is a tissue company, has done some efforts as well. It's out there, but are we doing enough? That's the question. Even if the ecosystem is used to being disrupted every 10 to 20 years, the impact to the wildlife depends on the presence of certain vegetation, and it could be kind of substantial. The thing is that the trees that we plant is one thing, but the auxiliary vegetation, the auxiliary animal life, and things like that we displace could have more impact.
Just plant kudzu everywhere.
That's a southerner for you right there.
Hey, it works.
Kudzu,
bamboo, problem solved.
It does cover, I'm telling you. But we've actually done studies and things like that, and surveys with biologists, and it would seem like it's still disruptive to the ecosystem, and it's possible that we could kill species or plants.
Yeah, that's why we have that endangered species list. So, yeah.
More after this on Arbitrage News.
Hey, wouldn't it be great if life came with a remote control? You could hit pause when you needed to, or hit rewind, like that time you knocked down that wasp's nest. Uh-oh. Well, life doesn't always give you time to change the outcome, but prediabetes does. With early diagnosis and a few healthy changes, you can stop prediabetes before it leads to type 2 diabetes. To learn your risk, take the 1-minute test today at doihaveprediabetes.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council and its prediabetes awareness partners.
When might you be buzzed? When you suddenly love everything.
You guys! I love this song! I love these nachos. I love our kickball league! Ugh! I love this guy! What's your name? You know what I'd love? A ride when it's time to head out.
If you see a buzzed warning sign, call for a ride when it's time to go home. Buzz driving is drunk driving. A message from NHTSA and the Ad Council.
I love your car. Is this real leather?
To protect her home and family in a disaster, Karen was willing to wade through water, mud, and insurance paperwork.
Yeah, I can do this.
You go, Karen! By simply understanding and updating what her insurance covers and doesn't cover now, she'll be better prepared no matter when disaster strikes. Learn other simple ways to protect your home and family before a natural disaster at ready.gov. That's ready.gov. A message from FEMA and the Ad Council.
Caroline Hollis, our Director of Education, is here with us. Caroline, we're making sense of senses this week.
Or we're trying to, at least.
Yeah. So, you wrote this article, and it's a fascinating article because everybody says there's only 5 senses, right? But apparently there's more.
There's more. The highest count that I read in doing some research for this article was one neuroscientist believes that there are up to 33 senses. Most agree somewhere between 9 and 21, which still seems to be a very high number for those of us who grew up in the 80s, going to school in kindergarten and learning about our 5 senses.
Yeah, so why is there so much of a discrepancy between 5 and 33?
Well, some scientists like to divide up the senses. For example, your sense of taste. You could just say there is one sense of taste, but then you taste actually 5 different things. You've got the bitter, sweet, salty, sour, and umami was added recently. That didn't used to be considered even part of the taste. So some scientists will say you have one sense of taste, while others say, well, that counts as 5.
Well, what are other senses? I mean, I know you talked about the one that I thought was the coolest is chronoception, which means the ability to sense the passing of time.
And that's actually something, my son is 8, and we kind of had to teach him when he was little, what does 5 minutes feel like?
Right.
How long is that? So that's one. Your vestibular system with your sense of balance. That can be one. I believe it's pronounced proprioception. The sense of where your body is in space. Like if you close your eyes, can you touch your nose with your fingertip? Things like that. So that is another sense as well. The sense of temperature is the sense of temperature. Can that be split into the sense of heat and the sense of cold?
Thermoception.
Yes, thermoception. All these big names.
I love the big names, although those who have listened to the podcast for a while know that it trips me up quite a bit.
Oh, well, it tripped me up earlier too, so.
Yeah. But senses like sensation of hunger and thirst and a sensation of needing to empty your bladder, your bowel, that sort of thing could be considered a sense. Also, something called pruritus, which means the sense of itch, right?
Right. And some people would almost say, a really strong itch can almost feel like pain.
Oh, dude.
So,
yes.
The fact that that's different, or even, you mentioned the sense of hunger before. I have a friend whose son had been on a feeding tube since he was born and in the hospital and a bunch of stuff, and they're trying to get him off that. And so he, I believe he's about 6 or 7 now, he's having to learn, what does hunger feel like and how do I eat? How do I take care of that?
Yeah, that's wild. You had something in your article about echolocation, and I want to make sure that we cover that.
Definitely. So echolocation, most of you will probably think of bats with echolocation. They produce a sound and listen for the echo to come back. And there's actually a group of blind mountain bikers here in the United States who use echolocation out on trails.
That is awesome.
I think it's so cool.
Love that. Go to our article on arbitragetrade.com/blog for more about this article and more about the echolocation cyclists. More after this.
Sometimes I just cannot believe all the storms we've gone through here.
I can only hope that we'll be able to leave this house to you one day, baby. You're our legacy.
Planning for these disasters will make sure we're safe, and is the best way to protect that legacy. You know what? We should make an emergency communication plan. That way we're ready this year. At my dorm, we have emergency kits for earthquakes and wildfires, but I'm sure there's something more local I can send you with a link.
Okay, smart.
protect your legacy. Visit ready.gov/plan for the tools and tips you need to start your emergency preparedness plan today. Brought to you by FEMA and the Ad Council.
Royce, Disney is in the news again. One of the Bobs again.
Oh, sweet. Is Microsoft trying to buy them?
No.
Oh.
No.
Blizzard, Disney.
Not yet. Not yet.
Illumination.
Disney had a gaming section called Disney Interactive.
What happened to it?
It went bye-bye, but not before it did some pretty cool games. Epic Mickey was awesome. There was a racing game called Split
Kingdom
Second.
Hearts. Oh, wait, Sony. Never mind.
Sony, yeah, Square Enix. But anyway.
Yeah, those guys.
Yeah, so Disney employees have kind of been vocalizing their dissatisfaction, along with the WGA SAG-AFTRA strike, because of certain things that he has said. Now let's roll this back about a year to last November, when Bob took over from Bob Chapek, who was getting around $52 million to do his job. And was doing a pretty horrible job at it and couldn't seem to keep his mouth shut about certain things.
So now the other Bob is doing it for half as much and still can't keep his mouth shut.
$27 million.
Oh, great. And
But
they went to band camp and something came out.
Well,
and what?
He went to Billionaires Camp.
Band camp.
He went to Billionaires Camp and said some things about the WGA, Writers Guild of America, and the SAG Screen Actors Guild, and then the Actors Guild for TV. Their strike, which is a sore spot for many people now.
I just want to know who the mole is.
Who knows? But
So
it's
is
brought
this a
to light
publicity
some.
stunt?
Sorry.
It could be a publicity stunt.
I doubt it. It is. It's really amplified and brought forth some interesting stories of lack of fair treatment. The company continues to reap substantial profits, but they're not being adequately compensated. Low wages and increased cost of living has really kind of amped this up. And Bob just opened his mouth, I think, at the wrong time.
Well, remember what they say. Any news about you that you don't have to pay for is good news.
I don't know about that, because the ongoing
Look at Bud
strike.
Light.
Yeah, look at Bud Light.
Have you seen their stock? It's up
It's-
about $6 since that campaign, which is about almost 20%. Believe it or not.
Yep.
Bad publicity is still publicity.
Yeah, I agree. At the same time, the flavor of publicity does color it. I mean, look at Tesla.
Yeah,
Elon.
Let's not talk about Tesla.
What the heck is going on there? I
A
don't
rocket
even know.
explodes, suddenly your stock goes up $100 per share.
Yeah, yeah. But Bob
Which one did you pay more for?
Bob has become a focal point of kind of a focal point of employee frustration, and we'll see more about this coming up as the strikes continue and the employees' frustration persists. We'll see how he addresses this. And honestly, I mean, it wasn't a good look for him to do this from a billionaire's summer camp.
I'm going to channel Betty White right now. My money's on the crock.
More after this on Arbitrage News. Stick around.
I'm Smokey Bear, and I made an assistant to help you prevent wildfires.
Dude, I've got this. I've been camping since I was 5 years old.
But I am a camping influencer.
You know what? I'll bet you $5. Assistant Smokey, what is the best way to put out a campfire?
To put out a campfire, drown with water, stir, drown again. Then make sure the fire is out cold by feeling with the back of your hand.
Wait, really?
I'll take the $5.
Learn more at SmokeyBear.com.
Brought to you by the U.S. Forest Service, your state forester, and the Ad Council.
Why was the basketball court all wet? Because the players kept dribbling on it.
The dad joke. Corny, grown-worthy, but also one of the simplest ways to share a moment with your kids.
What did the buffalo say when he dropped his son off for school? Bye, son.
So take a moment to make your kid laugh, because dad jokes rule. Make your kid laugh today. Go to fatherhood.gov. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
David, earlier this week we talked about the new robot that was aiming to help China's aging population problem. It was a bipedal robot that could walk, and we're talking about a little bit about this now in this segment. Apparently there's a ton of humanoid robots that are just getting ready to be released.
Yeah, and when we were starting to look at that article about the GR1, which is the Chinese company's robot for healthcare, it was like, hey, this might be the fifth one or the fourth one in a list of robots that are bipedal, but actually there are a lot more that companies are working on. I mean, this is almost as buzzworthy as AI is right now. I didn't realize how proliferated this technology was.
Well, we talked about the Sanctuary AI Phoenix. It's the Canadian bipedal that is supposed to be used for industrial use. But there's tons more. I mean, the Fourier Intelligence GR1 that we talked about is a lot closer in development to like the Phoenix. But there's also things like the Tesla Optimus, which may or may not be going on.
maybe, yeah. I mean, the other ones, it feels like these companies all over the world are finding niches where they can just fit their use case in with the bipedal robot and say, okay, this is for healthcare. Okay, this is for medical. Okay, this is for working in the mine. I'm sure they're going to come up with, robots that are multi-purpose for, labor robots. And I think that's what the Phoenix is meant to be. Yeah. It's meant to, hey, I want to hook you into an expert in the field, and I'm going to do exactly what that person did. Because it was supposed to be that AR combination feel where it would do the, AI machine learning from humans' actions.
Yeah.
And I have a feeling that a lot more companies are going to be trying to kind of jam their technology into whatever specialization they can find. Like the Asimov, it was real early on in the scene, and it was supposed to be kind of that healthcare robot in Japan.
Yeah.
And they did show some of that, like lifting patients and stuff like that.
Well, it didn't really do a lot, but the huge thing was that it walked. Of course, there was some dynamics things going on with that, but you've got robots now like the Boston Dynamics Atlas.
Yeah.
Holy mackerel, what is it doing?
Yeah, it's doing backflips and jumping across rooms. I mean, it's like American Ninja Warrior kind of level stuff. And what they're showing off is, it can operate in a real world environment where you have cars zooming by and stuff like that. So, Boston Dynamics is trying to go for the full portfolio of general purpose, which is amazing. But it's, if you look at their timeline on their robots, they've been working on this forever.
Yeah, since the 80s, right?
Yes, yeah. And they started on a small scale, but it's amazing. We looked at the time lapse of their tech, and they have made huge strides in how the robot learns about its environment. So I'm sure all these companies are working on similar things, but like I said, just very niche spots.
Absolutely beautiful. We'll keep an eye on this, as well as other developments in robotics, but we'll be back after this.
Hey, hon, what you doing with your phone? Taking pictures?
No, I'm asking it questions.
Like what?
Hey, Bobo, do flowers have best friends?
I'm sorry. I'm afraid I don't know that.
Hey, follow me. I want to show you something. Look, flowers do have best friends.
Whoa.
Some answers can only be found in nature. Discover the unsearchable. Visit discovertheforest.org to find a trail near you. Brought to you by the United States Forest Service and the Ad Council.
What is dedication? My daughter is biological and my son is adopted. I love them both so much. From the morning when you wake up to putting them to bed at night and every moment in between. I think a parent's job is to protect our children, but also prepare them for the world so they become good, kind human beings.
That's dedication. Find out more at fatherhood.gov. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
Royce, I think we can agree that your fashion sense is not that great.
Oh, sure it is. I put on the clothes.
Thanks for
I
that.
go outside.
Definitely. Definitely thanks for at least putting on the clothes.
I told you.
So, I know your toes are not dipped into the fast fashion scene like some influencers online and things like that. Well, Chinese e-commerce retailer Temu has taken legal action against Shein, which is a competitor of cheap clothing, basically, and
inexpensive. Don't say cheap.
Well,
you should see my store.
Well, well. So, Temu is saying that Shein has employed a range of tactics like threats and intimidation, false infringement claims, and fines to enforce exclusive agreements on clothing manufacturers.
Cool.
Yeah, I mean, and like I said, this is off the air. I said this is a little bit the pot calling the kettle black, as they used to say.
I just can't wait to put on my American Eagle jeans. What?
So anyway, it's
Sprite.
It's kind of hilarious. No. It's kind of hilarious because Shein currently holds the largest market share in fast fashion in the U.S., exceeding 50%. And Temu is right behind that, and I can remember Wish also did some fast fashion.
I know of Wish. Wish has made my list.
Well,
I made the Wish list.
Okay. But here's the thing, right?
Yes.
So next week we have an article written by Caroline talking about a RICO lawsuit that's coming up for Shein. RICO is Racketeering Influenced and Corrupt Organizations Act.
Oh, wow.
Right. A law that was originally designed to prosecute organized crime. But according to the Justice Department, racketeering also applies to egregious copyright infringement.
So that means they found the copyrights and said that they're being infringed upon?
Yes. Yes.
Cool.
Filed against by 3 different fashion designers. Some articles that I read about this says that Shein has upwards of 6,000 copyright infringements on their website currently.
Wait a minute. Where are they based?
I believe they're in China.
That won't hold up here at all.
Yeah, I honestly, I think that there's a base for this because of the plain and simple fact that they do business here.
But that's okay. How many things get through customs?
That's a good question. I don't know, man. But Chinese regulators are actually cracking down on these people to stop pressuring retailers and brands to work exclusively with them. So we'll see how this really pans out. And don't forget about our article next week on the blog where we talk more about this.
I want my 3 muskets.
Have a great weekend.
Arbitrage Trade Analytics, LLC is a privately held research company. Arbitrage Trade Analytics, LLC is solely responsible for the preparation and distribution of the contents of this podcast. The opinions offered in this podcast are for informational purposes only and are not intended to function as investment advice. Seek a duly licensed professional for investment advice. For more information about the informational research and services offered by Arbitrage Trade Analytics, LLC,